Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you to address a topic that has long been overlooked, yet is so important for us to understand. Women throughout history have been pillars of strength, wisdom, and grace, but there are times in their quiet dignity when they remain silent. It's not out of weakness nor fear, but because silence holds its own power. It is in these moments, in 7 crucial situations, that the voice of a woman speaks louder than any words could. Let us reflect today not just on their silence, but on the deeper meaning behind it. For in these silences there is a strength, a courage, and a wisdom that we must all learn to appreciate. Let us dive into these 7 moments where women remain silent and discover the profound lessons hidden within. Welcome to Innovate Today. I'm your host, Sarah, and in this episode we'll explore how voice AI is revolutionizing the way we interact with technology. Trust me, you won't want to miss this deep dive into the future. When women are judged for their choices, they often find themselves in a silent battle where their decisions are questioned, scrutinized, or misunderstood. The weight of societal expectations can be overwhelming, especially when those decisions do not align with conventional norms or the expectations that others place upon them. Society tends to have a set of rules and expectations that it applies to everyone, but for women, the pressure to conform can be suffocating. Whether it is about their career choices, personal relationships, or how they balance family life with professional aspirations, the judgment they face can be harsh and unforgiving. Too often, women are made to feel as if their choices are wrong or inadequate simply because they deviate from what is considered acceptable. If a woman decides to pursue a career over starting a family, she is labeled as selfish, neglectful, or ambitious to a fault. On the other hand, if she chooses to focus on raising her children, she is often labeled as wasting her potential or not contributing enough to society. No matter what decision she makes, she is bound to face judgment, often from people who don't understand or don't value her individual circumstances. Even within the confines of her own family, a woman can find herself in a difficult position. When she decides to marry, when she decides not to, or when she decides to leave a marriage, her choices are frequently met with harsh criticism. Many women find themselves silenced by the weight of expectations placed on them by their loved ones or society at large. They may even face ridicule for wanting to pursue a dream or passion that doesn't conform to the traditional image of what is expected of them. Yet, despite these judgments, they continue to carry on. The silent struggle that many women face in these situations is rooted in the belief that their choices should always reflect a certain standard. The judgment they experience often makes them question their worth and their ability to make decisions that are right for them. Women, however, do not choose in isolation. Their decisions are often influenced by deep personal values, aspirations, and experiences that others may never fully understand. They are making decisions based on what they believe is best for themselves, their families, and their future. Yet they often feel compelled to remain quiet about their rationale because of fear of being criticized. For women, this judgment can also come from the very people who are meant to support them, their friends, colleagues, and mentors. They may be asked invasive questions about why they are choosing one path over another, or told that their decisions are somehow less important or meaningful than the choices made by others. The judgment comes not only in words, but also in the form of unspoken expectations and assumptions that constantly weigh on them. Women are often expected to act in a certain way, to play specific roles, or to follow certain steps in life. The lack of understanding or respect for their personal choices only deepens their silence. The weight of judgment becomes even more pronounced in professional environments. Women are often expected to work harder, achieve more, and prove themselves to a higher degree than their male counterparts. If a woman chooses to take a break from her career to raise a child, she might be met with skepticism or disappointment. If she decides not to have children at all, she may be perceived as cold or unapproachable. Every choice, from whether she speaks up in a meeting to how she handles personal matters, is analyzed and dissected, often leaving her feeling like her decisions are never quite enough. When women are judged for their choices, they are faced with a dilemma. Do they defend themselves and risk further scrutiny, or do they remain silent and let others form their opinions? In many cases, women choose silence. Their silence is not a sign of defeat, but a means of self-preservation. It is a way for them to protect themselves from the overwhelming weight of judgment. Sometimes silence becomes the only refuge they have when it feels like the world is against them. In silence, they find strength to continue on despite the judgments cast upon them. This silence is not weakness. It is a recognition of the fact that their choices are their own and that they do not need to justify them to anyone. It is a form of quiet rebellion against a world that expects them to live up to a set of standards that are not their own. By remaining silent, they are taking control of their narrative, refusing to be defined by the judgments of others. It is a reminder that women, despite the judgment they face, possess a quiet strength and resilience that allows them to stand firm in their decisions regardless of the noise around them. The judgment women face for their choices is a challenge they confront in many areas of their lives. Whether it is in their personal lives, professional lives, or in the decisions they make about their bodies, their futures, or their relationships, they are often met with criticism, ridicule, or misunderstanding. But even in the face of this judgment, women continue to make choices that are right for them. They stand firm in their decisions, quietly defying the judgments placed upon them, knowing that the strength to choose and the freedom to live their lives according to their own desires is a powerful gift. When women endure emotional pain in silence, they often carry a burden that few can understand. The world may see them as strong, as capable, or as composed, but behind the mask, there is often a silent suffering that they choose not to share. They may choose silence because they do not want to burden others with their pain or because they fear being misunderstood or judged. Emotional pain, whether caused by loss, heartbreak, betrayal, or deep-seated trauma, can weigh heavily on a woman's heart, but her silence does not mean she is unaffected. It is a testament to her resilience, a reflection of her desire to protect those around her, and a means of coping with the overwhelming emotions that can come with such experiences. From a young age, many women are taught to be strong, to hold their emotions in check, and to maintain composure even in the face of difficulty. Society often expects women to be nurturing and self-sacrificial, and as a result, they are conditioned to put the needs of others before their own. This expectation can be even more pronounced when it comes to emotional pain. A woman who is hurting may feel the need to hide her suffering so that others are not burdened by it. She may keep her tears to herself, her grief behind closed doors, and her inner turmoil concealed from the world. This silence is not an act of denial, but rather an attempt to protect those she loves from the weight of her own pain. Yet in the quiet of her solitude, the emotional toll can be profound. The weight of unspoken sorrow can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness. She may feel as if no one truly understands what she is going through, or worse, that her pain is insignificant compared to the struggles of others. This is especially true when women face situations where their emotional pain is minimized or dismissed by those around them. If a woman suffers from a broken relationship, the world may focus on the relationship status or the superficial aspects of the situation, rather than acknowledging the deep emotional loss she is experiencing. If she loses a loved one, people may offer their condolences, but fail to recognize the depth of her grief. In many cases, her emotional pain is swept under the rug, dismissed as something she should simply get over. This lack of understanding can exacerbate the silence that many women endure. When their emotional pain is invalidated or ignored, they may feel as if they have no outlet for their grief. They may suppress their feelings, hoping that with time the pain will lessen or that they will eventually move on. But this silence, while seemingly protective in the short term, can build up over time, creating a heavy burden that becomes more difficult to carry. For women who have experienced trauma, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, the silence can be even more profound. The scars of past experiences may run deep, leaving invisible wounds that are often too painful to talk about. Women who have been victims of abuse, for example, may feel trapped in a cycle of silence where their experiences are dismissed, ignored, or not believed. The fear of not being understood or the fear of retribution can lead many women to keep their pain hidden, even from those who are closest to them. The silence becomes a form of survival, a way to shield themselves from further harm or judgment. In relationships, emotional pain is often carried in silence as well. Women who face emotional neglect, betrayal, or unrequited love may find themselves unable to express their hurt. They may feel that speaking out would only cause more conflict or distance in an already strained relationship. As a result, they choose silence, believing that their pain is something they must bear alone. This silence can lead to feelings of helplessness, But it can also create a sense of emotional strength as women learn to endure their pain without needing to rely on others for validation or support. The silence that accompanies emotional pain is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It takes immense courage for a woman to endure emotional turmoil without seeking validation or sympathy. It is a testament to her inner resilience that she can continue moving forward despite the weight of her grief. However, this silence also comes at a cost. The emotional toll can build up over time, leading to feelings of emotional exhaustion, burnout, or depression. Women who keep their pain to themselves may eventually find it difficult to cope, and the emotions they have suppressed may begin to affect their physical and mental well-being. Despite this, many women continue to endure emotional pain in silence, not because they want to hide from the world, but because they have learned that the world does not always have the capacity to truly understand the depth of their hurt. They remain silent because they do not want to be seen as a burden or because they fear being labeled as weak. In this silence, they may find solace in the quiet space between their thoughts, a refuge where they can process their emotions in their own time and at their own pace. At times, the silence becomes a way to protect themselves from further harm. When the world is proven to be unkind, judgmental, or dismissive of their pain, women learn to internalize their emotions, keeping their hurt within themselves. This silence is a shield, a way to keep others at arm's length to avoid the sting of further rejection or misunderstanding. However, this form of silence, while protective in some ways, can also prevent healing. The more women hold their pain inside, the more difficult it becomes to process or address the emotions they are experiencing. Yet, despite these challenges, they continue to endure, often quietly, with incredible strength and dignity. When women protect others from harm, they often do so silently with no expectation of recognition or praise. This act of protection can come in many forms, whether it's shielding a loved one from emotional distress, standing up for someone who cannot defend themselves, or sacrificing their own well-being for the sake of others. Women have long been seen as nurturers and caregivers, and this role is often expressed through their ability to protect and care for those they love. However, in many cases, this protection comes at a personal cost. They may silently endure hardship, carry burdens that others are unaware of, or conceal their own pain in order to preserve the happiness or safety of others. The power of their protection lies not in grand gestures or loud declarations, but in quiet actions and the silent strength that underpins them. Often a woman will sacrifice her own needs, desires, or dreams in order to ensure the well-being of those around her. A mother, for instance, might put her career ambitions on hold to raise her children, ensuring they grow up in a stable and loving environment. A wife might place the needs of her husband or family above her own, quietly supporting their aspirations and desires, even if it means neglecting her own. In these moments, the woman remains silent, not because she is dissatisfied or resentful, but because her love and devotion to her family outweigh any personal desires or feelings of sacrifice. She may not voice her exhaustion, frustration, or the emotional toll that it takes to give so much of herself. Instead, she quietly carries the weight of her responsibilities, continuing to protect her loved ones without complaint. Women also protect others from emotional harm, sometimes without even realizing it. In difficult situations, they often find themselves acting as peacemakers, mediating conflicts, or offering comfort to those in distress. A woman might step in to diffuse tension during a disagreement, soothing emotions of others, even while her own heart is heavy with concern. She may offer a kind word, a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, all while keeping her own emotional needs at bay. This is not to say that women do not value their own emotions, but rather that they often choose to prioritize the emotional well-being of others, choosing silence in the process. By maintaining this role, they create a sense of peace and security for those around them, even if it means keeping their own pain or discomfort to themselves. In relationships, a woman may protect her partner from hurt or disappointment by remaining silent about her own needs or desires. She might hide her concerns or frustrations in an effort to avoid conflict, hoping to maintain harmony within the relationship. By remaining quiet, she shields her partner from potential guilt, pain, or the burden of difficult conversations. However, this silence often comes with the risk of neglecting her own emotional needs. Women may sometimes feel as though they cannot speak up because they do not want to appear demanding or difficult. Instead, they keep their feelings locked inside, trying to protect both their partner and themselves from the discomfort of confrontation or disagreement. In situations of abuse, whether emotional, physical, or psychological, women often protect others from harm by staying silent about their own suffering. They may conceal the extent of their pain, trying to shield their children, family, or friends from the harsh reality of their circumstances. A woman in an abusive relationship may feel trapped between the need to protect her loved ones from the truth and the fear of exposing herself to further harm. She may remain silent because she believes that speaking out will make things worse, or because she fears the judgment and stigma that comes with revealing her suffering. In these circumstances, silence becomes a means of survival as she chooses to protect others, even at the expense of her own well-being. Women may also protect others by taking on more than they can handle, shouldering burdens that no one else can see. They often put others' needs first, taking on the role of caregiver, counselor, or provider, while quietly suppressing their own desires, frustrations, or fears. Whether it's a woman who cares for an elderly parent, a sister who steps in to help a troubled sibling, or a friend who supports a loved one through a difficult time, women often put their own needs on the back burner in order to protect and care for others. This selflessness, however, can lead to feelings of exhaustion, burnout, and emotional depletion as they continue to carry the weight of others' burdens without expressing their own. The protection that women offer often extends beyond their immediate circle, reaching out to others in their community, workplace, or society at large. Women frequently act as advocates for those who are marginalized, voiceless, or oppressed. They may speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, support causes that align with their values, or provide a safe space for others to express their concerns. Yet, in doing so, they often do so silently, not seeking attention or recognition, but simply because they feel a deep sense of responsibility to help and protect others. This quiet activism, though often unseen, is a powerful force that drives change, heals wounds, and provides hope to those who may feel lost or forgotten. Even though the act of protection may seem like a selfless endeavor, it is not without its cost. The weight of constantly putting others' needs ahead of one's own can lead to emotional and physical exhaustion. Women who protect others often do so at the expense of their own well-being, and this can lead to feelings of resentment, burnout, and isolation. The silence they maintain in these moments can be a form of emotional self-preservation, as they hold on to their personal struggles in order to shield others from the weight of their pain. However, this silence, while noble in its intent, can also create a sense of internal conflict, as the woman may feel torn between her role as protector and her need for support, understanding, and care. Women who protect others from harm often do so with incredible strength and courage. Their silence is not a sign of weakness, but a reflection of their deep commitment to those they love and care for. It is an act of love, resilience, and selflessness that is often unseen and unacknowledged, yet it remains a fundamental part of the strength and character of women. When women sacrifice their dreams for others, they often do so quietly without expecting recognition or reward. This act of sacrifice is one of the most selfless forms of love and care that a woman can offer, yet it is often unnoticed or taken for granted. From an early age, women are taught to prioritize the needs of others, whether it is their children, partners, family, or friends. Their dreams, aspirations, and ambitions often take a backseat as they devote themselves to helping others achieve their goals or simply ensuring the well-being of those they love. The sacrifice they make is not a sign of weakness, but of strength, and it reveals the depth of their love and the extraordinary commitment they have to the people in their lives. In many cases, a woman may choose to put her dreams aside for the sake of her family. She may put her career on hold to raise children, often sacrificing her own professional aspirations so that her family can thrive. The decision to be the primary caregiver, to give up time for personal growth in favor of nurturing others, is often seen as an act of great love. Yet this sacrifice can be emotionally and mentally draining. A woman may put her own dreams and goals on hold for years, all while making sure that everyone around her has the support they need to pursue their own aspirations. She may watch others achieve their goals, build careers, and live out their dreams, all the while quietly questioning whether her own desires will ever come to fruition. At times, this sacrifice comes with the hope that one day she will have the opportunity to pick up where she left off, to pursue the passions she once held dear. But there is also a profound sense of resignation that can accompany this decision, a quiet understanding that some dreams may never be realized. The sacrifices made are often not acknowledged by others, and many women find themselves isolated in their desire to reconnect with their dreams. They silently carry the weight of unfulfilled ambitions, quietly sacrificing their own personal desires for the sake of others. Women often make similar sacrifices in their relationships, giving up their own happiness or peace of mind to keep the harmony within their families or romantic partnerships. They may suppress their own needs or desires, choosing to focus on the happiness of their partners or children. A woman may give up her career dreams or personal hobbies because her partner's needs take precedence. She might sacrifice her own sense of freedom in order to maintain stability and security in her family. In these situations, the sacrifice is rooted in love, but it can lead to feelings of resentment or regret. Despite these emotions, the woman may remain silent, unable to express the conflict between her desires and her actions. She may fear that speaking up would cause tension or strain the relationship, so she quietly endures the sacrifice, often hoping that her efforts will one day be acknowledged or appreciated. The sacrifice of dreams is not always about giving up big ambitions. Sometimes it is about the smaller, quieter dreams, like the desire to pursue a passion, take a trip, or explore new opportunities. These dreams may not be monumental, but they are still a part of who the woman is. When she sacrifices these dreams for the sake of others, the impact can be deeply personal. The decision to abandon or delay these dreams can chip away at her sense of self and leave her feeling disconnected from the person she once hoped to be. Despite this, many women continue to make these sacrifices without complaint, silently carrying the weight of their own unfulfilled dreams. In some cases, women may sacrifice their dreams for the well-being of others in more direct or immediate ways. For example, a woman may choose to take on extra work or responsibilities to provide for her family. She may sacrifice her own time and energy to ensure that others have what they need, whether it is financial support, emotional care, or physical help. In doing so, she often pushes aside her own needs and desires in favor of taking care of others. This sacrifice may be made out of love, but it can also come from a sense of obligation or duty. Women may feel that it is their responsibility to care for others, and as a result, they put their own dreams and desires on the back burner. The silent nature of these sacrifices is one of the most striking aspects of the experience. Many women do not openly talk about the dreams they have given up or the aspirations they have set aside. They do not seek praise or acknowledgement for their sacrifices. Instead, they carry on quietly, putting the needs of others before their own. This silence is not a reflection of weakness, but rather a testament to the strength and resilience that women possess. They are willing to give up their own dreams, hopes, and ambitions because they believe that the well-being of others is more important. This act of sacrifice is a powerful demonstration of their love, devotion, and selflessness. However, this silence can also be a source of internal conflict. The woman who sacrifices her dreams for others may experience a sense of loss, frustration, or even guilt. She may question whether she has made the right choice, or whether she will ever have the opportunity to pursue her own desires. The sacrifice may leave her feeling as though a part of her identity has been lost or neglected. Yet, despite these feelings, many women continue to make these sacrifices without ever voicing their inner struggles. They push forward, carrying the weight of their unspoken desires, quietly hoping that one day they will have the chance to chase their own dreams. The impact of sacrificing dreams is not only personal but societal. Women are often expected to be caregivers, nurturers, and selfless providers, and this societal pressure can intensify the sacrifices they make. In many cultures, women are expected to take on the role of caretaker, and as a result, their personal aspirations are often deprioritized. The expectation that women should always put others first can lead to a lifetime of unspoken sacrifices, leaving them with a sense of unfulfilled potential. Even as society progresses, women continue to face the expectation that they will quietly give up their dreams in favor of fulfilling the needs of others. Despite the sacrifice of their dreams, women continue to show incredible resilience and strength. They are often able to find fulfillment in the act of caring for others, in the quiet satisfaction that comes from helping those they love. However, the silence that accompanies this sacrifice can be heavy, and the cost of constantly putting others before themselves can eventually take a toll. Even though they may never voice their struggle, the weight of their unspoken sacrifice is always present, a quiet reminder of the selflessness and strength that women embody every day. When women are underestimated or overlooked, they often find themselves silently carrying the weight of being undervalued. In both professional and personal spheres, women face a constant battle against perceptions that diminish their abilities, intelligence, or worth simply because of their gender. From the workplace to social settings, the quiet struggle of being underestimated can be emotionally taxing, yet many women choose to endure this treatment in silence rather than confront the biases they face. The act of being overlooked is not just about being ignored. It involves being excluded from opportunities, being denied recognition for hard work, and having to prove oneself constantly in a world that expects women to be less capable than their male counterparts. In the workplace, women are often judged more harshly and held to higher standards than men, especially when they strive for leadership roles or attempt to assert their authority. A woman may be overlooked for a promotion not because she lacks the necessary skills or qualifications, but because of the unconscious bias that suggests men are more suited for leadership positions. Even when she excels, her accomplishments may be attributed to her gender, dismissed as luck, or minimized as the result of external factors. Women may receive less credit for their ideas despite their contributions being just as valuable, if not more so, than those of their colleagues. In meetings, their voices may be drowned out or ignored, and when they do speak up, they may be interrupted or talked over. In these moments, women may feel silenced, but rather than protesting, they often continue on with their work, determined to prove their worth through quiet perseverance. This underestimation extends beyond the workplace and into their personal lives as well. A woman may be dismissed as overly emotional, incapable of making rational decisions, or not taken seriously when expressing her opinions or desires. Whether in friendships, family relationships, or romantic partnerships, women often face a pattern of being undervalued or overlooked. They may be expected to put the needs of others before their own, and when they do express their own desires or stand up for themselves, they may be met with resistance or condescension. Society often expects women to be caregivers, nurturers, and peacemakers, and when they step outside of these roles, they can be met with skepticism or dismissal. In relationships, this can manifest as being ignored or disregarded when it comes to important decisions or personal needs. Women are often expected to play a supporting role in the lives of others. And when they try to assert themselves, they may be quietly rejected or deemed unimportant. The emotional toll of being underestimated is significant. Over time, a woman who is constantly overlooked may begin to internalize these experiences, believing that her voice, opinions, and contributions are not worthy of attention or recognition. This can lead to self-doubt, insecurity, and a lack of confidence in her own abilities. Women may start to question their worth, feeling as though they are invisible or not as capable as those around them. They may silence themselves, retreating into the background to avoid further dismissal or ridicule. Rather than speaking up or advocating for themselves, they may choose to stay quiet, feeling that their efforts will never be truly valued. Despite this, women often continue to push forward in the face of underestimation. They may not always vocalize their frustrations or anger, but their actions speak volumes. They take on more responsibilities, put in extra effort, and work harder to prove themselves. They silently strive for success, often doing the work of multiple people without receiving the recognition or credit they deserve. The quiet strength that women show in these moments is remarkable. They do not seek validation, but rather keep pushing forward because they believe in their abilities and their worth, even when others do not. Being underestimated also teaches women the power of resilience. Over time, they develop a deep inner strength and determination to succeed despite the obstacles they face. They become accustomed to the quiet struggle of being overlooked and learn to navigate spaces where their presence is minimized or ignored. They find ways to assert themselves, whether through their actions, ideas, or the quality of their work. Women who are underestimated often become experts at making their voices heard without raising them, using their persistence, intelligence, and dedication to prove their value. This quiet determination can lead to profound success, often in ways that are hard for others to ignore, even if they have been overlooked for years. However, the toll of being underestimated can also result in burnout. Women may feel the pressure to constantly prove themselves, never able to rest or accept their own worth without constant external validation. This can lead to feelings of frustration, exhaustion, and a lack of fulfillment. The cycle of being overlooked and undervalued can be emotionally draining, and while women may keep pushing forward in silence, it can eventually become too much for even the most resilient among them. The strain of living in a world that does not fully acknowledge their worth can result in emotional and physical exhaustion as they struggle to keep up with the demands placed on them while simultaneously battling the internalized belief that they are not good enough. Despite these challenges, many women choose to continue their journey in silence, not because they believe they are less than others, but because they understand that their worth is not dependent on external recognition. They continue to pursue their dreams, work tirelessly, and contribute to the world, even when it feels as though their efforts go unnoticed. They know that true strength lies not in the approval of others, but in the quiet, steadfast commitment to their own goals and values. This inner strength is what often carries them forward, even in the face of underestimation, and it is this resilience that allows women to thrive, even when the world does not always see them for who they truly are. When women face injustice or inequality, they often endure these hardships in silence, choosing to bear the weight of discrimination, bias, and prejudice without making a fuss or calling attention to the unfairness they experience. This silence is not a sign of submission, but rather a complex response to a world that is often unkind, dismissive, or unwilling to acknowledge the struggles women face. In many cases, women who encounter injustice or inequality feel that speaking out would only make things worse, that they would be met with resistance or retaliation, or that their voices would be drowned out by a system that has long been skewed against them. Instead, many women endure these injustices quietly, choosing to bear the emotional and mental burden in the hope that one day things will change. In the workplace, for example, women often face gender discrimination. They may be passed over for promotions, receive lower wages than their male counterparts, or be subjected to subtle or not so subtle bias. Despite their qualifications and hard work, they may find themselves consistently overlooked or undervalued simply because they are women. Women in positions of power or leadership may face additional scrutiny, with their every move being questioned or criticized. They may be seen as too bossy or too emotional, while their male counterparts are praised for exhibiting the same traits. In these environments, women often find it difficult to speak out, especially if they fear losing their jobs, being labeled as troublemakers, or facing retaliation. Instead, they quietly endure, hoping that change will come or that they will be able to prove their worth without drawing too much attention to the inequities they face. Similarly, in educational settings, women may encounter subtle but pervasive sexism. They may have their ideas dismissed, their contributions overlooked, or be judged more harshly than their male peers. In STEM fields, for instance, women are often underrepresented and may face biases that suggest they are less capable or less suited to succeed in these fields. This can lead to women staying silent in classrooms or meetings, afraid to speak up for fear of being labeled as too aggressive or out of place. They may struggle to assert themselves, choosing instead to shrink back and avoid confrontation. The silence is not a reflection of their abilities or intelligence, but a response to the ongoing inequalities that make them feel as though their voices do not matter. In personal relationships, women can also experience injustice and inequality. They may find themselves in situations where they are expected to fulfill traditional roles that limit their opportunities for personal growth or fulfillment. In some cultures, women are expected to prioritize the needs of their families over their own aspirations. They may be expected to marry young, bear children, and take on the majority of domestic responsibilities, all while silently sacrificing their own dreams and desires. In some cases, women may endure emotional, physical, or verbal abuse in silence, either because they fear for their safety or because they feel they have no other choice. These women may feel trapped in situations where speaking out could lead to further harm, rejection, or shame. Instead of seeking help or speaking up, they suffer in silence, believing that they are powerless to change their circumstances. Women also face inequality in the broader society, particularly in relation to their rights and opportunities. Around the world, women continue to fight for equal access to education, healthcare, and legal protections. In many countries, women are denied basic rights and are subjected to harmful cultural practices such as child marriage, female genital mutilation, or restricted access to birth control and family planning. While many women in these circumstances fight back against these injustices, there are countless others who remain silent out of fear, intimidation, or lack of resources. They may not have the means to protest or demand change, and they may feel isolated in their struggle. Despite this, they continue to endure, finding ways to survive within systems that perpetuate inequality and violence. The silence that accompanies these experiences of injustice and inequality is a form of survival, but it is also a reflection of the resilience of women. Women have long been taught to bear suffering without complaint, to endure hardship without seeking sympathy, and to prioritize the well-being of others over their own. This cultural expectation places an immense burden on women who are expected to keep quiet in the face of injustice, to absorb the pain without raising their voices. The act of enduring silently can be a form of strength, but it is also a form of erasure, as women's struggles are often hidden behind the quiet facade of perseverance. Even when women do speak out against injustice, they are often met with resistance or disbelief. Their experiences are frequently minimized or dismissed, and they are told to get over it or move on. In the face of such invalidation, many women choose to remain silent, believing that their words will fall on deaf ears. This silence can create a sense of isolation, as women who face injustice feel that their pain is invisible, that their struggles are not worthy of attention or action. Over time, this silence can erode their sense of self-worth, making them question whether their experiences are legitimate or if they are simply overreacting. Yet, despite the silence, women continue to fight for justice, often in ways that are not immediately visible to the outside world. They may work behind the scenes, offering support to other women who are suffering, or they may quietly advocate for change within their communities. While they may not always be loud or confrontational, their quiet resilience is a powerful force for transformation. The silence that women endure is not a sign of weakness, rather it is a testament to their determination and strength. It reflects the difficult reality that in many cases, speaking out is not an option, and that survival often requires the quiet endurance of injustice. The women who bear these burdens with grace and dignity are, in fact, some of the most courageous individuals in society, showing a quiet defiance in the face of overwhelming odds.